On the horizon now, we have a pandemic treaty that's going to the World Health Organization. The government of Canada is looking to hand over our national sovereignty to a group of unelected individuals who will be declaring whether or not we get to lock down in the future. Now, there are people that are continuing this fight, and today we're going to be talking to one of them. Greg, thank you for standing up for us and having your organization Free to Fly. And this is, it's an amazing thing to have people coming together. We're not looking at this in the rearview mirror. We're looking forward. We're looking at the possibility of future lockdowns, future travel restrictions, and actually getting together so we can organize to fight for our freedoms of travel. Can you tell me a bit about the organization, what you're doing here?
Sure, yeah, and thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, Clyde. So Free to Fly was born out of essentially the mandate years ago now. It's a bit of a gray continuum when we try to remember how long it was, but primarily started as a group of aviation professionals, air traffic control, pilots, flight attendants, mechanics, security workers, etc., and then morphed, most importantly, to capture the many passengers in Canada that weren't able to fly either. So our supporter group is quite substantial, but what we're very cognizant of is the importance of local connections. So we've got various things that are going on, advocacy work. We've got a class action lawsuit and otherwise, but really my passion and the passion of a lot of people that are affiliated with us is how do we actually affect change that matters.
So we're looking at a situation where in the future there may be new treaties to cause more restrictions on our freedoms. Trudeau right now is signing a treaty, and he lobbied to have the World Health Organization have within it climate change as another thing that could make it so we can't travel, lock us down, keep us in our homes, and for the most part, people are. I mean, this is recent in memory in people's lives, and a lot of people, even that went along with what happened during the pandemic, realize now, holy cow, we can't do this again. This isn't something that we're able to do. What kind of efforts are we putting forward to actually stop this? Is this like people of all the industry? Are people getting together to say, no, no matter what, we're gonna keep people employed, and we're gonna also keep people traveling freely?
Well, from an employment standpoint within the industry, the majority are back to work since the mandate was suspended as far as the travel mandate goes. I like to point out that's not the case across the board. We still have those that are fired and are not back to work. But I think part of the challenge with what we're dealing with is we're constantly inundated and immersed in a news cycle that just never ends, and that's the nature of social media. And so, as someone said recently, our attention is everywhere, but nowhere in particular. And so I think what we've really got to focus on doing is what can we do to really impact change? Because it's easy enough. I know when I sit down and feed our social media, as much as I swear I'm not going to spend time on Twitter, 15, 20 minutes later, I'm reading articles and going on. And it's important to understand and stay in touch with what's happening around us. But what are we really doing that matters? And as far as change goes, and as you wisely point out, this isn't over. We've got a group that's looking to exert very harsh control on a very wide scale. And in order to stand back, we can't do that as individuals, one person alone. We certainly have individual responsibility. But I think until we sort out where we are personally, and for myself as a Christian, as my faith, I need to have that very much grounded. But then where am I at with my family? Have I solidified my family and where they're at? And then in the local community, what are we doing? And that's part of the effort that we're trying to get forward is connecting people so that we're not just individuals sitting behind a laptop able to give a brief history of immunology but not understand what's happening around us, but to get out from our desks, shall we say, and get into the community and actually meet people and start determining how are we going to have strong communities that can stand shoulder to shoulder and push back against whatever the next agenda happens to be.
Well, speaking of which, bringing people together, you guys are having an event coming up. Just is it next week? Meet and greet in Vancouver. I have the invite here, and I'll of course leave a link in the description down below. Anyone in the Vancouver area, get on over. I mean, it's not a very expensive event. It looks like quite reasonable for people to attend. What's the event, and what can people look forward to in this event?
Yeah, thanks. We just call the meet and greets. It's $30. It's not a fundraiser for Free to Fly or anything else that we've got going on. We're just looking to cover our costs for an evening of getting together, having some snacks together. There'll be a cash bar and otherwise. And it's not meant as an informational event. There's not a cadre of speakers. I'll give a little update of where we're at with Free to Fly and pass along some thoughts. But the main focus is, again, we've had a couple of these. We had one in Toronto and one in Calgary that were very well attended. It was a great encouragement to me just to meet many people that I've only talked to electronically. But people attested over and over again how encouraging it was and how important it was to sit at a table. Sometimes they'd sit down and they just talked to and heard the stories of people around them. And I think that story is so powerful to encourage you to understand that you're not alone. So we'll have a number of, call them freedom fighters from the Western region that will be there. But there's folks coming from the island. My folks are coming from the interior. Not that that's a selling feature; it's exciting for me. But there are people that are coming from not just the Vancouver area that are excited to get together. And I want to point out, it's not just an industry specific thing. We've had people email and say, "Oh man, I'd love to attend, but I'm not a flight attendant. I'm not a pilot." But that's not what it is. You don't have to be a Free to Fly supporter, anything. If you would just like to get together with a community of people that's like-minded, share some ideas, hopefully make some long-term connections within your community that you can stand with as we go forward. That's the intent of the evening.
That's beautiful. So anyone is welcome to attend. Moving forward after this event, what's in the pipe? Or is there more events like this? What does Free to Fly have planned for the future?
Well, we started with one of these in Toronto, and then people said, "Man, it'd be nice to have one at West in Calgary." So we did one of those, and then similar for Vancouver. So there isn't a firm set plan. I should point out that the almost all of the work as far as setting these up is done by our very kind admin, Trisha, who sets them up, and I just show up and get to enjoy the company along with everyone else. So it's at her good graces that these things get put together. But it's really just based on interest. Ideally, what we'd like to see is people that attend them think, "Man, this was fantastic." Like in our local community here, we're having a like-minded potluck this coming weekend, and the intent is exactly the same. People are just going to bring a bunch of food. We're going to gather a list of local businesses with people that see the world the same as we do, so we can start just doing practical things like spending our money to support people who want to see this country go in the direction that we would like it to see it go in. So what I would like to do is seed that idea with as many people as possible, and then just see it multiply throughout the country. We've got folks on the East Coast that would love to see us make our way out there. So we'll see where it ends up. But really, this is what I'm passionate about: is galvanizing local communities and starting to affect change by forming relationships. Because we've got to stay informed, but we've got to move away from strictly consuming what's happening around us on a level that we can't immediately affect, but we can affect it by impacting culture in our local communities.
Absolutely. Yeah. Change the culture, and the politics and all that other stuff will change along with it. The website is Free to Fly with a number 2 in the middle. And I'll leave a link for the invitation to go to the Vancouver event to pick up a ticket for that. And thank you so much, Greg, for joining me today. And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks a lot, Clyde.